When I first met Daniel Hayes, I didn't think twice about him. He was a man in his late 40s, tall, broad-shouldered, with streaks of silver in his hair that gave away his age. To me, he seemed like the kind of man who belonged in a different world altogether, polished, mature, and far beyond the chaos of my mid-20s life. I was 26, still trying to figure out who I was, working as an assistant at a local publishing company, struggling to pay rent and keep my dreams alive. Daniel, on the other hand, looked like someone who had already conquered every obstacle life could throw his way. I thought he was too old for me, and in my mind, that was enough of a reason to keep him at arm's length. But as life often does, it proved me wrong in ways I never could have imagined. Our paths crossed one late evening at the office. I had been working overtime to finish a manuscript summary for my boss. Everyone else had gone home, and the silence of the building was starting to weigh on me. I was leaning over my desk, my eyes blurry from reading too much, when I heard footsteps echoing down the hall. I looked up and saw Daniel. He wasn't part of our regular staff. He was a consultant brought in to evaluate new projects. He gave me a polite smile, and I returned it with a nod before burying myself back into my work. But then he stopped at my desk. "You shouldn't be here so late," he said, his voice deep and calm, carrying the kind of authority that made me look up. "Work will always be here tomorrow." I laughed awkwardly. "Yeah, but deadlines won't wait for tomorrow." He studied me for a moment, then set down the files he was carrying. "Do you mind if I take a look? Sometimes another pair of eyes helps." I hesitated. I wasn't sure why a man like him, polished suit, leather briefcase, clearly someone important, would bother helping me. But I handed him the summary anyway. He read it with a focus that impressed me. After a minute, he started making suggestions, not in a condescending way, but with a gentle guidance that made me feel like I could actually get better at this job. We ended up sitting there together for nearly an hour, reworking the summary until it flowed perfectly. When we finished, he leaned back, satisfied. "You're good," he said. "You just doubt yourself too much." I didn't know what to say. His words hit me harder than I expected. That night, as I walked home, I kept thinking about Daniel. Not just about how capable he was, but how he made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. Over the next few weeks, I saw him more often. He was usually in meetings with executives, but sometimes he'd stop by my desk and ask how I was doing. He'd bring me coffee, make small talk, and occasionally tease me about how I never left the office before dark. Slowly, those conversations grew longer, and I found myself looking forward to them. Still, there was that thought in the back of my mind. He's too old for me. I couldn't shake it. I was at the beginning of my life, and he seemed like he had already lived 2 of them. But Daniel never made me feel that gap. He never treated me like I was younger or less capable. Instead, he respected me, listened to me, and encouraged me in ways I had always wanted from someone. One evening, after another late night of work, he asked if I wanted to grab dinner. I almost said no out of habit, but something in me said yes. We went to a small Italian place near the office. The restaurant was quiet, dimly lit, with the smell of fresh bread filling the air. Over plates of pasta and glasses of wine, we talked, not about work, but about life. I learned that he had once been married, that he had a teenage daughter he adored, and that he loved reading classic novels in his free time. I told him about my messy apartment, my dreams of becoming an editor, and my fear that I'd never really make it. The way he listened, with his full attention, made me feel like the most important person in the room. It wasn't flashy or dramatic. It was steady, warm, and real. When he walked me home that night, I caught myself wondering if maybe age didn't matter as much as I thought. But the doubts came rushing back. What would people think if they saw me with him? Would they judge me? Would they think I was chasing stability instead of love? I pushed those thoughts aside, but they lingered in my mind, especially when friends started asking about him. Yet, Daniel never let my doubts define us. He showed me through his actions that what we had wasn't about numbers. He proved it the night I completely broke down. I had just gotten harsh criticism from a client, and I felt like a failure. I wanted to quit, to give up on everything. Daniel showed up at my door with takeout and sat with me until I calmed down. He didn't try to fix everything or lecture me. He just held space for me, reminding me that setbacks didn't define my worth. In that moment, I realized how wrong I had been. Age didn't matter when someone could meet you exactly where you were, with patience and care. He wasn't too old for me. He was exactly what I needed. As months passed, our bond grew stronger. He encouraged me to take risks, like submitting my own writing to be published. He celebrated my small victories as though they were his own. And I, in return, brought a lightness to his life he admitted he hadn't felt in years. One night, as we walked through the park, he stopped and looked at me. "Do you still think I'm too old for you?" he asked, half teasing, half serious. I smiled, realizing just how far I had come since the first day I met him. "No," I said softly. "You proved me wrong." He reached for my hand, and in that simple gesture, I understood that love doesn't follow timelines or rules. It finds you when you least expect it, with the person you never imagined, and it changes everything. From then on, I stopped worrying about what people thought. I stopped letting age define what I deserved. Because Daniel wasn't just an older man in a suit. He was my partner, my encourager, and the person who taught me that love is about connection, not numbers. Looking back now, I smile at my younger self for thinking he was too old for me. Because in truth, he wasn't too old, he was just right. He proved me wrong in the best way possible, and for that, I'll always be grateful.